It's tough, but it's so rewarding, and it's such a privilege to get to work the way that we get to. And for me, it's like, I couldn't think of, if you would have told me, 5 or 6 years ago, this is what I'd be doing today, I probably would not have believed you. But
Same girl. Same.
I probably wouldn't. I've been like, what are you talking about? But, uh, but yeah, I love it. I get to, I think I have the best job in the world. I get to speak to women all the time. I get to make art every day, and it's what I love to do. So I couldn't be, more blessed. But it definitely comes with its challenges and times
For
where you're
sure.
like, holy shit, I'm going to pull my hair out.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to ALLSMITH. Today, I'm joined by the wildly talented and deeply soulful Camille Hunt. She's a Brooklyn-based artist whose work isn't just seen, but it's felt within the heart, within the soul. And from her roots in Alabama to her travels across the globe, Camille has used her life as a canvas, exploring the raw beauty of the human form and the powerful narratives that it holds. She's known for her emotionally rich body prints and collaborative studio experiences. Camille invites her clients, and now all of us, on a unique experience today, into a space where vulnerability is not just sacred, but it's also creative, where it can become a catalyst for self-love and transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, Camille Hunt, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bryce. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to connect with you and, just kind of chit-chatting briefly offline, or as the kids say these days, yapping offline. We have a connection via energy. I think what you're
Hmm.
doing is really special. I love the softness of your voice, but I also love the passion in what you do. As you navigate your personal experience through art and through connectivity and exploration, what's been going on recently that's really been lighting your heart on fire?
Uh, if I'm being honest, I'm in this really kind of beautiful but complicated stage of growth in a pretty intense way.
Hmm.
My life for the last year and a half has been pretty steady. I've had a regular income coming in, clients coming in, regular interests, but I'm sort of at this place right now where I'm not satisfied with that anymore. It's like, okay, I've done it. I did it. It's happening. It's working. And now I want to move on to the new thing. Um, so I'm trying to figure out what that is. A lot of what I'm doing right now is I'm really pushing marketing strategies.
Hmm.
So like this year alone, I've been in Brooklyn, I've been in Miami, and now I'm in Austin. I'll be going to Paris in September. Last year, I did London, Los Angeles a few times, and it's been wonderful to connect with so many different women. But as a commission-based artist, it's kind of like being a cover singer, right?
Yeah.
You are making art for people, and it's wonderful. Like, it's such an honor to be able to give that service to people and, light their heart on fire and get them a piece of art through like a collaborative process, and it's rare. But I'm sort of in this moment right now where I'm trying to shift and take less clients and do more artwork for myself. Still falls under the same category of women and art and embracing the body, but doing it more for myself. And so it's been a huge kind of ride to get to this point. And I'm so much gratitude, towards my team and, all of the people that follow me and have supported me all this way. But it's a roller coaster of emotions, and it almost feels more risky now when you are comfortable to take larger steps and bigger sacrifices to potentially, have more growth.
For sure. You're
So
you're in like that middle ground right now where it's like everybody roots for you in the beginning when you're brand new and you're kind of figuring it out and you're full of piss and vinegar and passion.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really know where you're going, but you're following your heart center and you're just like, hey, I'm going to go on this journey. And everybody's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's so cool. You know why they think it's so cool? Because they don't have the balls or the courage to do it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So they look at
Yeah.
you and they're like, whoa, you're following what lights your heart on fire, what really you're passionate about, and you can go for the thing. But then after that, it's like that original like enthusiasm starts to fade. And it's
Mm-hmm.
that middle ground where people are like, oh, now we're just observing. Everybody's watching your story. Everybody's like, hey, is she gonna make it or is she gonna fail?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's almost like this unique human judgment that is like awesome because it can kind of be the spark for growth and a fire.
Yeah.
But it's also like kind of fucked up because it's like you sort of rooted for me in the beginning when I was a nobody, and now all of a sudden I'm somebody,
Yeah.
and you're kind of like phasing into the distance, and it becomes this ideation that I'm sure you struggle with too. And I'm really excited to chat with you because I think we have similar stories. It becomes this thought process of like, are you loved for being Camille, or are
Mm-hmm.
you loved for what you do and what you provide for people and how you make them feel? And
Yeah.
it becomes this dichotomy of like, you're creating art. It's beautiful. It's meaningful. You're pouring so much of your life into it, but you have no control over how that's received. And the
Mm-hmm.
question that comes to mind is from Rick Rubin, which is the goal is not to be understood. The goal is to be honest. And in the beginning, you're like, understand me, give me love, attention, and validation. You're like shooting your shot.
Mm-hmm.
After that, you're like, all right, I'm done trying to be understood. Now I want to be authentically Camille Hunt and I want to be understood. What floats to the surface when I kind of paint that picture for you?
Um, a few things. I really kind of go back a little bit to my childhood when you were saying the quote you mentioned. It's about being honest. It's not about being understood, however that went. I think growing up in Alabama, I was definitely more of a rebellious, wild teenager. I flunked out of school, was kicked off the cheerleading team. I was a hellion for someone who went to a private Christian school in the Deep South. And I think for a long time, what I was fighting for and like what I was rebelling against was I just wanted to be me. And I think a lot of where I was from was saying, well, there's a book and this is how we do things. And this is the plan. And I wasn't ready for that plan and I didn't want that plan. And so instead of, I rebelled. And it created a really toxic environment for me with where I grew up. Now I'm 32 years old. Things have changed. There's been a lot of growth. But that was the first thing that popped into my mind when you said that quote. And I think for me, my work falls into that category because really and truly, when people come in, I think the thing that they want the most is not necessarily a painting. Um, it's like they just want to be listened to and understood. And that was so much of what I needed growing up was just to be heard and listened to and understood. And I think that that's what the experience it is. And so that was the first thing that popped into my mind.
I love that. Camille, I have so many questions in relation to this, but what first comes to mind is I've done over 300 podcasts now. There is a common thread where people want to be seen, heard, and understood. But let's just say, from a blanket standpoint, from your perspective of art, design, and creating an experience, to me in the fitness world and creating an experience and unlocking reservoirs of potential once people get lean, mean, they're looking good, they're feeling good, it's confidence building, they're able to do things they once thought they couldn't do. But from a marketing strategy, if I'm like, hey, I use fitness as a tool to allow you to be seen, heard, and understood. The world goes, why should I invest in that? How do you monetize that as an entrepreneur? And like you and I both know, like this shit fucking works. It works in your world. It works in my world. And it's authentically what people want. But for some reason, people go, hey, I'm only going to invest in things that create fear, i.e., reactive medicine. Oh, I have to pay for my health insurance because if I get hit by a car or something happens, I got to make sure that I have this insurance policy so I'm not paying thousands of dollars. So out of fear, they're like, hey, I'm going to do the thing.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
like they don't want to invest until it's a problem. Hey, I'm going through depression and anxiety, and I went through a horrible breakup, or I lost my job, or I have challenges with body dysmorphia or lack of confidence, or I don't have access to a community. Camille, can I come to you? Can we do some art experiences together to unlock this inner song that I have that I want to sing? But it's like from a business standpoint, it's tough because you're like, hey, invest in me and I will doubly invest in you. And like artists are such givers, but
Mm-hmm.
the world doesn't want to monetize it in that way. And it's so frustrating because they want to monetize in, hey, I'm going to go see a doctor. They're going to spend 7 minutes with me. They went to school for this shit. So they have all this reputability. But in reality, it's like they don't care about you. They looked at some chart where you answered some fucking questions.
Mm-hmm.
And then based on fear, they want to throw thousands of dollars at this thing a year, not realizing that, like, hey, these people over here really care about you and they want to love you and provide a service, but it's like they can't provide the service for free. You
Yeah.
have to invest in it. And it becomes this social dichotomy that's such a paradox of like, hey, this thing fucking works, but I don't want to pay for it. This
Yeah.
thing doesn't really work, but I'm going to pay for it. And I'm like, what the fuck? I don't understand. It's like this constant battle that I have. And friends, family, and everybody in between constantly pushes back on this. And it's like, clearly I'm biased being an artist and being in this field, but I'm also like, just based on pattern recognition, I'm just observing what's working.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say, it's very interesting to see the wellness space like really blossom in terms of physical and mental wellness. Um, but you're right, like people will, spend so much money on healthcare and their plans every year to just go to the doctor for 5 minutes and get looked over and told you're fine and then leave. Um,
Or get
uh,
thrown big pharma at them, and then their health insurance pays for these pills that work, but then they have side effects that come with them. And it's like, hey, what if you
sure.
did this thing that works? You have to put time, energy, attention, and finances towards, but it actually has no side effects and it has long term benefit.
Yeah. I think also like most people rarely change until they're desperate for something, like ever. And
Mhm.
I, like even myself, I'm someone who grew up as an athlete. I was a dancer and a gymnast, and that's been ingrained in me my whole life. But for probably like 4 or 5 years, I did not work out at all. I might go on some runs during the week, maybe go to a Pilates class, but I was not strong and physically fit like I used to be. And about a year and a half ago, I hired a personal trainer, and it's totally changed my life. But it had to get to the point where I couldn't get out of bed. Um, because my back hurt so bad from working and bending over and being on my hands and knees all day, to get to that place. And so again, people don't change sometimes until they're desperate, and I think all people are guilty of that in some form of fashion in some aspect of their life. Maybe for some people it's willing to go to therapy for their husband or their wife to solve problems because they don't want to go to a therapist until it's so bad until they're like on the brink of divorce. In my case, it was like, well, I hate working out. I really do. I hate it. And I know that I don't have the discipline to get my butt up myself and go to the gym and do it myself. I know this about myself. So what do I have to do? I have to pay somebody every single month and get out there and do that. But for me, that's an investment into my body. It's an investment into my strength. Just like if someone was going to hire you to do the same thing, they know they won't go to the class, they know they won't get up and go, or they won't push themselves in the gym at all. And I think for me, where that falls in line with my job and my line of work is Well, number one, you do get a product that lasts forever. You can work out as much as you want, but the day you stop working out, your body is going to just, lose that. Um, you'll always have, uh, this thing that's on your wall, and it sticks with you forever. I also think it's a real kind of intimate and it's a very specific moment that people are looking for. Like, it's very, very niche, right? Like, you're coming to my studio to remove your clothes, to be vulnerable, to create artwork. And there's not many places that have that. I mean, there's just like, no, I don't know anybody else that does this.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the nicheness in it makes it easier to kind of monetize on. And it hits so many different specific points for people. It hits people who have been in domestic violence. It hits people who are about to have mastectomies. It hits people that are pregnant or are postpartum. And for some, it's just, I just want the artwork.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it wasn't the goal really for me to be able to monetize it and have the success that it has. I just wanted to really like create connection. If you had told me 4 years ago, where I would be and how much I'd be paying for rent for the studio, and I would have been like, I don't need all that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do I need? I would have been happy making like half of what I'm making right now. 4 years ago. So it wasn't the intention, but I think that's why it's also been so successful and so real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you sharing that. And it's also just like the human body is so cool, both male and female. I think that the female body is incredible just because of childbearing and just the
Yeah.
different reproductive challenges and the emotions and just the curvature. And like if you just removed the sexual ideation, you just looked at it like a piece of art. Oh, like your story told truthfully is like the most powerful art that you can offer. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the way people move, the way they stand, but then also, like you said, having that intimate experience in a safe space like a studio where you can prompt them, you guys can create trust, you can talk through elements of their story. It's like a real life podcast that maybe is not necessarily videoed or audio recorded, but then it's transferred through how comfortable you can make them. And a friend of mine, Brooke Ziegler, now Brooke Carver, she always talks about the in between. Like you might prompt somebody in your studio while integrating your form of art. And at first they're a little uncomfortable, it's a little awkward, but then all of a sudden they find their nest. They get to that space where they're unapologetically themselves. That's the capturing moment. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so cool because it relates to kind of boudoir photography,
Sure. Yeah.
right? And like that's probably the closest element of this form of art that I can think of. But what are your thoughts of that? Of just like you said, it's overcoming elements of adversity and then using your body as a tool for self-expression. And then you don't have to broadcast it. It's not like fucking OnlyFans. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like you're putting it everywhere. It might be an intimate thing just for you. It
Yeah.
might be a special book for your significant other. It might be just a moment in time where you have an experience, but it probably enlightens confidence, love for oneself, and is something maybe gently disruptive that allows people to get out of the ruminating rabbit hole that maybe they're stuck in to then elevate and transform the rest of their life.
Yeah. If I had $1 for every time a woman told me, wow, I haven't been this naked in front of somebody and, since my doctor, or, in front of, unless it's my husband or my doctor, or, I'd have a pretty good savings going. And most women, when they remove their clothing, they kind of cover at first. They're sort of holding their breast, and, and they're nervous, and you watch as the session progresses, how they become more comfortable. They begin to let their arms loose, and they're putting their hands on their hips instead of covering themselves. And for just a really just for a few hours out of their day, they are truly just being seen for who they are and not what their appearance is. And I think that is very therapeutic for a lot of people, especially anyone who's ever experienced any kind of sexual trauma, to be so bare and nude and to place yourself on the floor and you're in like kind of funny different positions with a total stranger. Society teaches us that our bodies are, meant for sexual acts and to procreate. And this is, the purpose of what humans are here for. And to be this just object and like this person and to be in a still space where you don't even remember that you're nude anymore, I feel like that's a very rare thing to occur. And I think that's very therapeutic for a lot of people. And it's helped me in my own life. Everybody is self-conscious, of things. You're never just 100% confident all the time in how you look. And so whenever I'm feeling a little insecure about something, or I'll think back to these sessions and I realize wow, I don't remember really any of what their bodies actually look like. I wasn't looking at them. I was looking through them and hearing them. And that's what I remember from these women is, what was your energy? What was your vibe? What was your conversation like? I won't remember, what your waist looked like or what your thighs look like or how heavy or not heavy you were. So I think that's a real raw point for people to get to.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because we, within our own subconscious, both male and female, that's what we're thinking about. Oh, they must be
Mm-hmm.
looking at this deformity that
Yeah.
we have, or this thing that we don't like about ourselves, or, we were once this and now we're that. But in reality, nobody gives a shit.
No.
Like that famous saying, and it comes back into our worlds, everyone, time and time again. People will forget what you did, they'll forget what you said, but they never forget the way you made them feel. Like energy is fucking magic.
Mm-hmm.
And what
Yeah.
comes to mind for me, Camille, and I think about this in the bridge between your world and my world, is people don't buy coaching. They don't buy art. They don't buy service. They buy transformation.
Mm-hmm.
So making your artwork like a mirror into who are you becoming. I think something about that unlocks this transformational experience where you feel something that can't be documented on Instagram Reel. It's like, hey, I met this person. She was amazing. I can't really explain it, but it created an experience that was unlike any other. And because of that, I want to go back and I'm going to remember it. It's going to sit into my headspace to realize that energy is something that it's not necessarily seen, it's not necessarily heard, but it's felt. And then it makes
Mm-hmm.
people want to lean in towards you, which is, in my opinion, part of the reason why you've been so successful is you're not objectifying people. You're allowing them to just go be them with zero judgment.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's, what we're all searching for in some way. The older you get, the more with social media and the more exposure you have to, all these different types of opinions and politics. And it feels sometimes hard to find your safe space, especially online,
Mm-hmm.
um, uh, because you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And but I think that's kind of just what I want to offer, this safe space that is where you're free to express and just say what you want to say. And some women come in and they have a lot to say. Some women open the door and they're in tears before they even sit on the couch and we talk about color. Some women come in and they don't want to talk about, they're not really there for maybe an emotional experience. They're there for the artwork.
Mm-hmm.
So And sometimes, women come in and they seem very closed off, or, like they're just there for the art. And then we get halfway through the session and something like just really pours out of them. So there's a whole spectrum of different kinds of women and stories and people that come in. But I think just being allowed to be vulnerable and be yourself in a space is, welcoming for all across the board.
That's so cool. Something that's coming to mind for me is the human mind wants to categorize so that it can create conceptual understanding. Oh, you are this. You are coming here to chit chat. And then other days it's like, hey, you're coming here to just get, photos or art. Then other days it's like, hey, you're coming here to escape the rat race or get away from your husband or get away from your job or just to get
Mm-hmm.
some personal time away from your kids, whatever the thing is. But what's so interesting is you're creating a safe space to allow people to be unapologetically themselves. And I think that's fucking rad.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Thank
think
you.
when verbalized that way, it should be monetized more. It should be a growing evolution, which honestly I really think it will. I think the world's changing a little bit where we're so connected via social media, but then as a byproduct, we're so distracted from self. We don't know how to be with ourselves because every time we're uncomfortable, it's like put the earbuds in,
Yeah.
have a drink, smoke some weed, or grab the phone. Let's hop on Instagram, let's hop on X, let's hop on Threads, let's hop on Facebook, let's get distracted, let's send somebody a text, let's make a phone call, let's go do the thing, let's just get busy, let's just fill space. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it very much relates to nutrition where people think they're eating to fill a space as opposed to like eating to nourish the body for the
Yeah.
tasks of the day. And I think you bring a really good point there of like in this world of filters and fucking algorithms, honesty, in my opinion, is like the rarest form of rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the highest form of art because you can fake it for so long until, as Jim Carrey, once said, like depression is when you're wearing this mask and you're behaving like this avatar for somebody or something else. And it gets old. It
Mm-hmm.
leads to you not feeling connected to self because you're putting on a performance consistently for the external validation and love. And when you get to the point where, as Rick Rubin said, you're making the art for you
Yeah.
because you know personally what it feels like to feel neglected, to have the challenges with body composition, to body dysmorphia, to maybe some sort of abuse in your life, whether it was purposeful or accidental. When you feel that level of pain, you can create a safe space for others. It's magical, and they can feel that loving compassion within that space that you create.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's, the ultimate goal is I want to make anybody feel as comfortable as they can be, to forget that they are nude. And I think one of the things that has kind of helped me with people, I think I'm just a people person naturally, but I traveled quite a bit through my early 20s. And I was sort of all over the world and worked in a lot of different fields. I did everything from housekeeping to working as a barista to working on different farms. Uh, Lots of waitressing. I even worked in construction. I used to hold the stop and slow sign in Australia.
Let's go.
Um, so have I've had to become a people person and figure things out, and with people all over the world, and I think that that's really been on my side. And being able to detect when someone detect emotion in people, I think I'm very good at. If someone feels a little awkward or uncomfortable, I can sort of maneuver things around to kind of offset those emotions, because it is kind of an awkward, uncomfortable thing to come in for somebody you don't know. And so I pick up on different things. And, one of the helpful things is like if I can tell someone's pretty nervous, I'll just start asking them questions about, things that they like to do. Or if somebody has a dog, people love talking about their dog. So they're going to loosen up and they're going to love talking about their dog, and they're going to forget that they're even nude. So creating that has always been like top priority for me, but something I think that has also come naturally as well.
You find familiarity for them, and that creates a common ground where now I call it playful perspective architecture. That's something we do a lot with ALLSMITH, and shifting their headspace. It's like somebody's wearing one set of lenses, which are like overly emphasizing the fact that their private parts are out and they're getting ready to do a thing. But it's like, hey, let me borrow those glasses for a second. Let's try these ones on. And now
Yeah.
they're thinking about their dog. They're thinking about playing. They're thinking about energy. Maybe some music helps and softens the mood and allows them to flow and be more similar to water and the ocean and navigation and sports and dance, and less about like, oh my gosh, I'm fully exposed. People are going to see me
Yeah.
in this space. And now that leads to like external thinking of things that are outside of your control versus the other way. It's like internal thinking of like familiarity. These are things that I have reps and time and capacity and exposure to.
Yeah.
For you, Camille, what was the catalyst that led you to leave home and backpack solo for 4 years? Did you find that you were running from something, or did you feel like you needed to just go explore the world and see things with a different set of lenses?
The Trident family taught me something really important this last year, that we are all a bundle of stories, both good, bad, and everything in between. All of their cold brews remind their customers that they are part of something bigger than themselves. I start my day with the Sweet Cream Cold Brew as I am prepping my mind and body for fitness, service, coaching, and podcasting. With various locations in San Diego, they offer over 14 nitro cold brews and a variety of specialty drinks. You can find the perfect brew and pair it with one of their treats from the Keto Bakery. You can check them out over at tridentcoffee.com and use code ALLSMITH to take your coffee experience to the next level.
Yeah, I've always been very curious. I went to a really nice school growing up, and I come from a more privileged background that, we don't have like boats and, planes or anything, but like we had a beach house. I went to a nice school, and I was very blessed. And that's really all I knew. I went to a smaller kind of school. Everybody was just like me. And I started to sort of rebel a little bit in high school, and wanted to break out of a lot of the norms that I was around. So when I really just, I was so depressed and sad in high school, and I was counting down the days till I went to college, and I went to the University of Mississippi, and I went there pretty much not knowing anybody, and I made some really awesome friends. And it was the first time I felt like, wow, I can wear the clothes that I want to wear. I can dye my hair purple if I want. I'm going to wear those funky shoes. I'm going to listen to the music I want to listen to. Because I felt like when I was in high school, everything had to be so like, this is how you do things. And if you do something different, it's different wasn't smiled upon really. Different was, not a great thing, and it made people uncomfortable. And that was, the hardest part of it. It made the things that I was interested in, it made other people uncomfortable. And it was all because they didn't understand nor want to understand. And I felt like that for many years. Now that I've gotten older, it doesn't bother me so much that, I go home and I've got my nose pierced, and I speak my mind a lot more.
Isn't that so interesting though? How like, just to kind of unpack some of the language, it's like, hey, I went to this nice school. I come from privilege. And it's like, okay, that tells me there's a proven track record that like, hey, when you do it that way, there's this societal definition of like, oh, you're successful. You have a beach house. You do all these things, but it's described based on things. It's based on actually the lack of diversity, the lack of perspective, and saying like, hey, when you do it this way, you're going to make money, you're going to be safe, and you're going to have things. But that's creating the ideology of that's what you want. What if what you want is to think outside the box, be a free thinker? I mean, when you look at the most successful people in the world, most of them are college dropouts. Most of them are different. I mean, most of them may or may not be somewhere on the Asperger's profile, just because they're like, fuck you, world. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to do it different. Because I've seen, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always be what you've always been. That's been done before. I want to do something disruptive. We've seen boudoir photography. What you're doing is not the same thing as that. It's different. And if you want to be different, you have to think different. You have to be different. And you can't just fit within the conformity. But then it leads to lack of understanding to the human mind, because people are like, oh, I've never seen that before. So now instead of being curious, they decide to be judgmental. And then that depreciates this beautiful song that's within the heart and soul of these amazing children that can go do amazing things. Mm-hmm. Every artist, I just went to Coachella was 2 weeks before, but I just went to Stagecoach. It's like no artist there is like every other artist. If they were, they're not on the stage. They did things differently for a reason, because they listened to that little whisper of like, hey, just keep playing. Keep playing in the sandbox. Keep hanging out with your friends. Keep being a little bit outside the box. Color with this color instead of that color. You don't have to do it the way it's always been done.
Yeah.
The world doesn't conceptualize that well, and then they judge it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, those are the geniuses of this world. Let them go be.
Have you ever seen Into the Wild?
Yeah.
Okay, so like, I get emotional when I watch this movie, because I felt like I could just. That was me at a point. He goes to, I believe, Harvard or some really big fancy school, and his parents come to pick him up from graduation, and they take him to a nice restaurant, and it's this kind of like awkward moment. Like he's not like mad to be there, but he's not sad. But his parents gift him a car, and that's his graduation present. And he's like, I don't need a car. Like, what do I need a nice car for? Like, he's like, I don't need these things. And he's just so frustrated with his parents trying to like provide love through things. And he takes the car, takes all the money out of his bank account, burns the money, and then like leaves the car and abandons the car, and then just goes out on his own to figure it out. And this kid comes from like privilege and a good family. He's educated, all this stuff, but he's just trying to figure out like how to break down like the human form into like a more raw state, so that things don't become, the priority here, and like things aren't a mindset. Even when he is in Alaska and he's on his own and he's all abandoned towards the end of the movie, he looks up to the sky and he sees this airplane flying over him, just like very, very far from a distance. And you can just see the disappointment in his eyes, because he's like, there's a fucking airplane. Like, I want to be like somewhere where I'm so untouched by like things like technology and money and all this stuff. And I think in a less extreme way, of course, that's sort of what I wanted. And so when I went to college, one of my roommates, she graduated a year before me. She went to live in Thailand and Cambodia, and she said, will you come visit me over winter break? And I was like, hell yeah, I'll come visit you. And so I packed a backpack. I worked all through college, worked in restaurants and all sorts of things. And so I had a little extra money, and I went and stayed with her for about a month. And we just backpacked around, and that was the first time I had left the country. And I was, I think, 21. And I knew that after that trip that's what I wanted to do. I fell in love with it and every aspect of it. And I was originally just going to go for a year after I graduated. And, but that ended up turning into 4 years. And so, and it's interesting. My first year of travel was the most expensive, because I didn't know how to budget as well. I didn't know how to negotiate. I didn't know how to live on a little, and every single year I spent a little and a little and a little bit less, but was having bigger experiences with less money. And so it just goes to show, like, things are just things. But I would have these wild, incredible experiences in just really remote places around the world. And people are like, well, how much did you pay to do that? And it's like, I didn't pay. Or like, I painted a mural in exchange, or, whatever it was.
What I'm hearing there is that you really learned how to be more human. And when we look back at tribal culture, there was a lot of trading, there was a lot of bartering, there was deep, meaningful relationships and connections that were fortified through trust. Hey, I've seen you here. I notice you do this. I do this. Let's create an exchange. And it's of value. It doesn't have to be all the time numerical value in the form of dollars or cents.
Right.
It can be a different style of trade exchange. When your friend or former roommate posed that question to you, what got you to say yes? Because when I look at this as if I'm watching a movie, that was a pivotal moment. Had you not said yes to that, you don't learn what you're looking to learn, right? Like, if somebody doesn't jump into entrepreneurship, they're living in the realm of comfortable complacency, the region beta paradox, where it's not really bad enough to walk away, but it's not really good enough to be like, hey, this is my forever. It's like, yeah, it's paying the bills. I'm kind of doing the thing. It's like a shitty relationship where it's like, I'm kind of with this person. They're kind of cool sometimes, but like, I don't really love them, but I don't really want to go dating again. It's like, this sucks, but I'm just going to stay because it's easy. It's like, that's not a way to live. That's existing. That's not living. And what got you to say yes in that moment? And then also what I'm hearing is that, like, you look at entrepreneurship, like the first year for most entrepreneurs is so expensive because you don't know how to buy supplies. You don't really know how to market. You're overspending because people are kind of capitalizing on your insecurities or the things that maybe you don't know how to do. But then you start to learn, but you only learn through doing. You didn't learn that in the classroom. You didn't learn that on ChatGPT. You learn that through experiential, like, hey, I'm going to be the woman in the arena.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it was a very easy yes for me. I love a challenge, and I love going places. I always have. So when she asked me, like, hey, do you want to come to Thailand and Cambodia with me? I was like, immediately yes. I went and bought a backpack. I bought a 50-liter bag, and that was my bag after graduation for the next, 4 years later. And I don't know that I was running from anything, because at that point I was so embracing of myself. I had been, out of my hometown for a few years, and I was doing exactly what I wanted to do. I had money that I was making, so I was able to go do the things that I wanted to do. And the things that I wanted to do looked like going to Colorado in the summer and like camping and hiking with friends, or going to music festivals. And those were the types of things that I was really interested in doing. And so I already loved, like, I had no problem roughing it, as you say, as some people would say. But I just hopped on board, and I'm kind of an all or nothing person. So if I say I'm going to go backpacking, like, I'm going to do it like the real way. I'm not going to be staying in like fancy places. I'm going to be, like, I have my own tent in my bag. I'm going to be like hustling and grinding and figuring it out. And I just loved the lifestyle of it, because I do think I was getting like just more realness from life. Sure, like, if I wanted to, I could have gone and stayed in a nicer hostel, or gotten a private room, or done all these things. But number one, my trip would have been cut very short because I would have run out of money. And number two, it's just not it wasn't as exciting for me.
It's not as much of an adventure when every variable is covered and it's just this like overly fancy safe space. It feels like pretentious a little bit.
Sure.
And it sounds to me that like you were open to the experience What I'm curious about though is like, I mean, taking responsibility at 20 or 21 years old of like, hey, I'm going to make my own money, so I'm not reliant on anybody else. I have access to financials and things that are going to allow me to live the life that I want to live. And oftentimes in what I call lifestyle design coaching, the famous question is, what do you want? Nobody can answer that question. And you were
Mm-hmm.
very stern and you said, I knew the lifestyle that I wanted to live. I wanted to go to music festivals. I wanted to camp. I wanted to hike. You wanted to connect with nature. You wanted to connect with people. And that's not, hey, I want this car. Hey, I want to get this purse. Hey, I want these
Yeah.
sexy shoes. Those things are all fleeting. And so, what were the lessons from like hard work for you, cafe shifts, solo adventures that eventually became unexpected training for you that really sharpened your sword of entrepreneurship and now art?
Yeah. Um, there was a lot. I mean, I think when you are determined to do something, but you don't have a lot in your bank account, you don't have a lot to like, you have a lot to lose, but at the same time, you don't, right? So, like,
Mhm.
when you've already like achieved some level of success and comfort in your life, it feels like a way bigger loss to or it feels like a way bigger risk to take any sort of loss. Um,
Because you're
but
attached. You're like, I
yeah,
want this thing. I created this story in my head. But if you're just like, I'm willing to risk it all in the pursuit of experience, you're just like, fuck it. Here we go.
yeah, exactly. And I think mentality is such a big factor in this with, that I have now applied to entrepreneurship. But, when I was traveling and stuff, I would have a few $100s. I remember going from the Philippines to Australia and getting to Australia, having to convince a friend of mine, because in order to land in Australia on a visa, you have to have a minimum of like 3,000 Australian dollars or something in your bank account. And I didn't have that. I had like $300. And so I got someone to put some money in my bank account and then I transferred it like right back out. But, the first thing I did was go to a hostel, print resumes out. I ended up getting like 3 jobs in like a couple days, and I was working all over different parts of the city, and just like grinding my way through it. I like my goal. I always had like a goal that was like, okay, in 2 months I'm going to go here, and then in 4 months I'm going to go there, and so the mentality was I'm going there, like with what I have. Sometimes that meant like I would, there were lots of Facebook groups where like I would. They were like travel Facebook groups, and I'd be like, "Hey, is anybody going from like Melbourne to Sydney and like gonna stop at this campsite along the way? Like, I'd love to like pop in your van." And so sure enough, I'd pop in the van. We drive to the national park, and then I'd meet somebody else there who had a van, and they're like, "Well, we're gonna go this way instead, and we're gonna do a detour." So I'd pop in their van. We'd find work at some cafe along the way. I'd negotiate, everything. I can remember negotiating, living in a hostel in Thailand. Like, hey, I don't have any money to stay here, but I want to stay here because of the location. So, like, what if I paint you guys some murals on the walls? Like, will you let me stay here for free, like for free accommodation? So negotiating was a huge part of it. Taking risk was just a huge part of it. And by the time my like entrepreneur journey started, I just went in with the same mentality. Like, this is what I'm doing. And there's no possibility that, and I'm not going to let the possibility of failure like creep in because this is all I have. And it's just, there's no room for failure in here. Again, my goal was not to be like making the amount of money that I'm making today. My goal was to be happy, to create connection, and to make things like feel alive. And I'm fortunate that it was able to do both, and it's worked out. But it set me up and through budgeting and negotiations. I mean everything. I recommend anybody to go and travel the world and in a real way, and test yourself. Um, you'll learn a lot about
Yeah.
people too.
This is super rad to hear the totality of your story, because I had kind of the elevator pitch of your story, but being able to kind of peel back the curtain and get into the weeds a little bit, it's super cool. I mean, Chris Voss has his book Never Split the Difference, and he talks about how everything is a negotiation. And what I love about that is it just is a great reminder that this whole world is made up. Price points are made up, these rigid boundaries are made up, rules are made up. Most of that shit is made up based on issues that have happened in the past, that people needed to create rules and regulations in order to create scalability and consistency within monetization in this world of capitalism. But when you take a human approach, it's explorative, it's playful. It sounds to me that you relinquished your relationship with attachment and stuff and realized, like, you made up your cognitive mind. This is what I'm going to do. And there's no negotiating with that. Like, the plan has been made. We're going to do the thing. And now the question for me becomes, how did you manage levels of rejection? Because within negotiation, you're going to be told no a lot. You're going to be kind of dancing with the devil as far as how to manage your budget. You're going to be disliked a little bit. People are going to create a judgmental view on you when you're coming in with an ask that maybe is subtly unorthodox and it's not consistent with the rhyme and the rhythm of what some of these places are used to, with tourists coming in with credit card being like, hey, swipe my thing. I'm not really worried about it. No questions asked. And you're coming in with this curious, I'm going to push your buttons a little bit, and I'm going to stretch your bandwidth to see if we can make this work. How did you navigate the uncertainty of all of that?
Rejection can be a really frustrating thing, and it can be a real ego killer. I think for me, though, I was so, and I definitely experienced rejection many times. But if it didn't work there's another door to open. And I kind of have always had more of an optimistic perspective on rejection, even though it sucks. I end up becoming more frustrated that I'm not getting where I want quick enough, instead of like what I'm getting now, instead of being able to have what I need to get there. So it's like, okay, if I'm not getting from point A to point B, then I'm going to like jump around and go through another hoop somehow. I've always handled rejection like pretty okay. I don't look at rejection like it's the end. A lot of people, they get the door of rejection and they're like, all right, well, shit, I give up. That's it. Like, all right.
People get married to their feelings.
Yeah.
And I think rejection is simply redirection. It's like, all right, we played this game. It's not working right now. It could work later. Maybe
and there's just another door. There's just another way to go in. And that was just always kind of the mentality that I had on it. But I think a lot of people really struggle with that. And it is hard. It is hard. But I think that was my mentality most of the time. And I think one of the hardest points that I experienced in my career was when my studio flooded, and I had it was my very first art studio in New York. I had just moved in, like 2 days I had been in. I come back, it's like January 3rd or something. I moved in on the 1st, and my whole studio was flooded. There's water coming from the ceiling. I'm in the basement studio. It's freezing cold outside. It's ice cold water. All of my artwork is completely destroyed. All of my supplies, like thousands of dollars worth of stuff that I had put like blood, sweat, and tears in, and I had just put like money into moving and for the security deposit and for the rent, and I was just flat freaking broke, and was just riding my like optimism and confidence at that point. And I walk in and the whole place is just completely turned upside down. There's mud everywhere. There's water all over the floor. Everything's destroyed. And I thought that was really one of the times I thought like, fuck, I can't recover from this. This is going to be like really, really bad. And I think I'm going to have to give up my lease, and I'm going to go back to waitressing. And, but I just got so fucking mad, thinking about that. And I knew that if I went back that route, I'd probably be more comfortable waitressing, make more money waitressing. And life would be easier than it was at that moment. But I knew that it wouldn't pay off the way I wanted it to. So I think that, again, optimistic mindset, like when you run into just things that are shit and moments that are like want to tear you down, or in some, rejection in some cases, your mindset is like the most valuable thing that you can have.
Yeah. Where does the optimism come from? Right? Like so many people, that's a pivotal moment where you could just be like, fuck this, mom, dad, can you help me out? Call a sister, a brother, a loved one to kind of bail you out. You mentioned being mad. I mean, there's an emotional component there. There's management of anxiety, depression. There's maybe the crave to make bad choices. Maybe it's, hey, fuck it. I'm just going to go out, throw this on a credit card for a little bit, and go just get drunk for a bunch of days. And maybe some of those choices are justifiable for a second or two, but like long term, they're very, very dangerous. So it's like, what was it about this process and the loss of the time, of the money, your relationship with expectations, the energy that it took to kind of problem solve all of this when you were used to kind of traveling and being a free spirit, where previously it would have been like, hey, I was just here for a couple of nights. This isn't really my problem. I'm moving on.
Sure.
Now there's real responsibility associated with that. So what did this particular moment teach you as far as resilience and being able to problem solve and overcome the emotional discomfort?
I think my partner helped me a lot during this time. He is just a wonderful human, and he's so patient. I speak a lot with emotion, and I react with emotion a lot. I'm a very passionate person, and I can be very stubborn. Like if I'm going to do something, like I'm going to fucking do something. And, he just kept reminding me, like, even though I wasn't seeing nearly as many people as I'm seeing now, and didn't have, the following or anything, I still had clients coming in, maybe like one or two a month, but they would just say the most wonderful things. And he would remind me, like, look at what these people are saying, like after they leave these appointments, like, and he reminded me, like, you know who you are, right? Like, you are this powerful woman, and like, you are this awesome being, and you make people feel this way. Like, this is going to work out. And I just needed that reminder. And I think that was at a point where I was just very, very lost and feeling very desperate. I don't know where like the optimism come from. So I think sometimes like it's easier to be angry at something not working out for you than it is to just say, okay, well, I'll figure something else out. Like, it would be so much easier if I could just like throw a fit, something like every time something like didn't work out or like didn't go my way. But you don't move forward like through that. It just like slows your time down. There's absolutely zero progress in it. And I think that in that moment was where I was throwing a fit, and like I was really angry, and he had to kind of bring me back and say, like, you've got this. Like, what are you doing? Like, your whole life has been like, you went and backpacked the world for 4 years. You've done all that. Like, you're going to let like, this situation, like, throw everything away for you. And I was like, oh yeah, I am that bitch. What am I doing? I was like, what's going on? Like,
I think that should be the title of your episode. I am that bitch.
I am that bitch. Yeah.
What's cool too is like sometimes all humans do this, but especially ourselves, we get clouded by recency bias of like, hey, this is who I am now. We forget like the stack of evidence within our historical resume. And sometimes it's nice to have those partners or those friendships or those family members that can be like, hey, let's break through the ice a little bit. Let's look at this stack of evidence of all the things that you've done that led you to the now.
Yeah.
You are who you are for a reason. You're not just this random person that, fell out of the abyss. And I think those little subtle reminders are kind of like the penguin form of like pebbling. Sometimes you just need a little like punch in the face of like, oh wow, like you said, I am that bitch. I
Yeah.
can figure this out. And the other thing that I'm hearing is that, and I'm like this too. You mentioned the word stubborn, and
Mm-hmm.
stubborn can be a double edged sword. It can stab you at times, but it can also be like, okay, you mentioned being a little bit rebellious in high school and in your upbringing a little bit. I would assume that you were looking to the people that were in higher positions, leadership positions, and those people are like, okay, if I stay on this track record, it's going to lead me to that. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to go do this, and you're going to criticize me, and I'm going to hate it. And then you're going to criticize me, and I'm going to laugh at it. And then you're going to criticize me, and I'm going to keep on going. And the game becomes less about winning and more about outlasting. And then
Mm-hmm.
eventually the story becomes, I'm going to be so good you can't ignore me. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you're kind of dancing that line now where it's like you have the proof of concept, you have the confidence. Now you're figuring out marketing and the admin side of things of how to run a business.
Yeah, totally. Um, growing up was difficult, and like my parents are wonderful people. They've always been there for me. It just wasn't the type of support they knew how to give when I was growing up. Um, and now, in the last few years, I think they've really come to understand me as an adult and who I am. And I think that's also given me a lot of confidence as well. Because I was this young, insecure girl that was, in high school and was acting out, and a lot of fear, insecurity, and not feeling like I was heard. And I don't think that they were hearing me the way that they should have. But I also think they were doing their best and they didn't know how, they didn't know what they were doing. Um, but I think that that's kind of given me a lot more confidence as an adult. And I feel very validated. And maybe because I know who I am more, that is the reason that I am so much more optimistic about rejection. I was used to rejection. I was used to being told no. I was used to like not feeling like I was a part of something or being heard or understood. And now I just don't give a fuck whether anybody hears me or not, because it's like I know myself. So, um, anytime that like adversity is in the face, I'm facing that. Yeah, I definitely get stressed out, but I do stay positive.
Yeah.
Like that mentality of like, it's going to work out because there's no other option for it not to.
hmm
Um,
And
so
also, it
yeah.
may not always work out according to the expectations, but it's going to work out in some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I really appreciate that willingness to kind of keep pushing forward. And it's like, oh, that's a trap door. Cool. I'll go over, under, around to kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Was there ever a moment where you seriously considered just like throwing in the towel and quitting?
Other than I'll be totally transparent. I probably have like a breakdown day like once a week.
hmm
I've got two girls on my team and they're amazing and they help out so much. But I really struggle with ADHD, and I was on medication for many years. I'm not on it now. Um, but if I'm not being productive, I get very depressed and I get incredibly overwhelmed. But I feel like I'm working all the time, right? Like there's always emails, there's always like cropping or painting or like something that has to be done or design work. Um, and I think it's just human that sometimes those emotions creep in. But like I have a breakdown probably like once every 2 weeks of just like, this is so freaking hard. And it is hard. Um, which is why like I'm right now trying to reframe my business so that there's less demand of me, um, to always be designing, to always, always have a client in. I'm taking majority of May off to work on other creative ideas that I have. Most of those have to do with sculpture. And I love sculpture. I love plaster. I really am a multidisciplinary artist. But, this has been what the body prints of what I've been doing for consistently for 4 years now. And I was really nervous about doing that because I know that means in May, I'm not going to make any money. If I'm not working, I'm not making money. And so, okay, that's, X amount of dollars you won't make. It made me stir crazy to think about taking that time off. But just like how I started in the beginning, just like how I did with my travels, like if I really want to do something, I've got to put my foot in the door, and I've got to have that mindset of it's all going to work out. It's all going to be okay. And now I'm fortunate enough and, grateful that I have a cushion to fall on if needed. But yeah, I'm really excited about May. I'm really I was so nervous about it, but now I'm so stoked to just have some time for me so that can breathe a little bit more. So it's a really interesting place that I'm in career-wise right now. I think things will look very different in 1 year.
Free is the way to be. Life beats us up a bit and causes some bumps and bruises, but that doesn't mean we have to stay on the sidelines. This is why we've partnered with Kinyan Labs. Get back to doing what you love with this incredible portable device designed to get you back in the game. Kinyan is on a mission to move people from pain to possible with their top-rated red light therapy and laser solution, which tackles inflammation along with muscle and joint pain quickly and effectively. What I love is that it's portable and rechargeable, making it easy to actually incorporate into my everyday life consistently. It's small and lightweight, so you can throw it in your gym bag or work bag or even an overnighter. Kinyan's lasers and LED combo make this cutting-edge device extremely versatile for use with general aches and pains, as well as chronic back pain, arthritis, post-surgery recovery, endometriosis, and more. This has been an amazing tool keeping my elbows and knees pain-free for pressing, pulling, and squatting in the gym. Great tools like the Move Plus give me the freedom and flexibility to continue living life on my terms without limitations. There are a lot of reasons why over 15,000 people are using this device and rating it 4.7 stars and above. Head on over to kinyan.io and use code ALLSMITH at checkout to begin your pain-free journey.
I mean, it's adding new tools to your toolbox.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes, first and foremost, stagnation is the enemy. You've been doing this thing for 4 years. You kind of have the system in place. You know how to make money doing it. But it's just the tip of the iceberg. There's levels to this game. There's more things that you feel like can be unlocked.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you can't just keep running on the iPhone. You got to charge that motherfucker. You got to plug it in, which means it needs to escape the rat race for a second. It means you have to have the courage to be disliked and not necessarily be a service provider for a month.
Mm-hmm.
While you go reset, recalibrate, and reignite certain things. We all are humans that accumulate biases. And if those biases are always there and we're not adding new tools, it's a form of continuing education.
Yeah.
The only difference is in entrepreneurship. It's not like follow this course and click these buttons to take this test to show that you have, continuing units. It's like, no, I need to go learn new things. I need to feel new energy. I need to look in a different space. I need to explore, dream, and discover. And as a byproduct, I know I'm going to come back better because it's a new environment, it's a new energy. It's things that I've never been exposed to. But what's difficult is it's hard for the world to cognitively recognize that. And then you as the business owner, you're looking at your income, you're looking at your team, you're looking at the expectations of the rat race. And that doesn't always take into consideration the human race.
Totally. It's a rough world out there. And
It
I
is.
feel like there's so many articles lately that have been like being your boss, being your own boss is so overrated. And I read those things and I'm like, I agree and I don't disagree, right? Like, I do think it takes a certain person to be an entrepreneur, to be a business owner, to run a small business, but it is fucking hard. And I like, there are times I look at my assistant and I'm like, why the fuck did I do this? I'm like, this is draining the life out of me at times. But at the same time, it's so rewarding and it's like my baby. I love it more than anything. I can set my schedule to how I want it. I can, there's nothing in this world right now that I need that I can't buy. Like I feel, that I want, like I'm happy and it's rewarding, but it's really hard. And it takes a certain kind of person, a certain kind of discipline and mindset, to make it work well and to like not let it eat you alive.
No, that's so well said, and I can relate very much so. I mean, just yesterday, it's like I'm consistently working in my business. So I'm coaching clients, I'm listening, I'm hearing, I'm designing morning, evening routines, their program design, their food, emotional connection,
Oh
consistently
yeah.
changing and manipulation of schedules. And it's like, oh, wow, when I do all that, I'm not working on marketing, graphic design, the podcast. I'm not answering emails. I'm not figuring out our next apparel line or our next retreat. So I'm like delegating some of those tasks to members of our team. Well, now I'm the bottleneck because they have all these questions related to all those things.
Totally.
But I want to be very present with these people the same way you are with people in the studio. And so inevitably, like you're disappointing somebody. And then you get
Totally.
home and it's like, hey, the phone needs to go on airplane mode at least for an hour so I can have dinner with, in my case, now my wife, in your
Uh-huh.
case, your fiance. And it's like, well, now they want attention and connection with you, which you obviously want to be a part of.
Yeah.
And like, that's non-negotiable. But then like your phone comes off airplane mode and it's like, hey, I need this. Hey, I need this. And it's like, you're learning to scale you. You're
Yeah.
bought in. You love all of these people in different ways and capacities. But it's hard. You're spinning lots of plates. That thing that person is emailing or messaging you about is the most important thing to them. But to
Mm-hmm.
you, it's like that's just one of many tasks on your
Right.
list. It's not
Yeah.
like the only thing. But
Yeah.
they see it from their lens, and you're trying to like zoom out and be like the umbrella figure that is like running the business, but also on occasion working in the business as much as you can because you're service oriented, you're loving, all these things. But sometimes it's important to develop that level of perspective of like, hey, I see you, I acknowledge you, I'm going to get to it for sure. But
Yeah.
it's like you have to take into consideration the reservoir of lenses that I have and all the different responsibilities. It's not just that.
Yeah.
And I love the way you described it and the fact that you have the courage to just be like, hey, I'm going to walk away for a second because selfishly, and maybe it's the male ego in me, but I'm always like, hey, why can't I do both? I can go on a camping trip and then while everybody else is sleeping, I'll just get up 2 hours earlier and I'll work from my phone. I'll grab Wi-Fi from somewhere. I'll figure it out. And then they wake up and I'm like, hey, what's up? Well, and I'm like really exhausted, but I'm also kind of being pulled towards business and I'm not really there. And so
Yeah.
I've learned that over the
Yes.
last couple of years of like, be here now.
Yes.
Present is so freaking important. And
I have
sometimes
it
it's like,
tattooed right here. Yeah. Be here now.
me too.
Woo!
Would match.
Do you really?
Mine's right here. If you can see it on
I do
screen.
too. I have mine
That's
in
awesome.
Nepalese. It's up here. But
That's cool.
yeah, I think that is the biggest thing is business owners. And I really like the way you said that because I've not thought about it in that type of way. You said when someone reaches out to you, it's the most important thing to them. But to
Mhm.
you, it could be pretty low on the list, like
Yes.
getting back to that email or like whatever. Like there's a lot of like things that we have to deal with on a day to day. That's you know
But at the same time, I want to make them feel, and I want
exactly
that to be the
yes,
most important thing to them. And
yes,
I am trying to get back to them, but I also know that like, hey, if I'm in the physical presence of somebody and I gave my word that, hey, I'm going to be here, I'm going to provide this service, that's a non-negotiable to me. Like what
sure, yeah,
your words need to align with your actions. That's
Mm-hmm.
something that, like, put your grocery cart away, treat people appropriately. Like, there's certain non-negotiables for me. It's like work's always going to be there. If we're late on an Instagram post or, late responding to an email or getting back to a sponsor, it's like, hey guys, we love and we appreciate you. We are trying our best. But at the end of the day, it's like, I think patience really is a virtue, especially in the realm of business. And I don't know, time is a made up construct, and I'd rather delay a little bit where the response is genuine, it's authentic, your presence is like so artistically, lovingly valuable, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to like, yeah, I'm physically here, but I'm not really here. And I think that's the next evolution of like becoming a good leader, is realizing that you must have the courage to be disliked. You're not going to satisfy everybody, but if you operate with honest intention, the outcome will eventually be what it's going to be because you're simply trying your best, as are they.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's tough, but it's so rewarding, and it's such a privilege to get to work the way that we get to. And for me, it's like I couldn't think of, if you would have told me, 5 or 6 years ago, this is what I'd be doing today, I probably would not have believed you. But
Same girl, same.
I probably wouldn't. I've been like, what are you talking about? But but yeah, I love it. I get to, I think I have the best job in the world. I get to speak to women all the time. I get to make art every day, and it's what I love to do. So I couldn't be, more blessed. But it definitely comes with its challenges and times
For
where you're
sure.
like, holy shit, I'm going to pull my hair out. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the major takeaway for our listeners and our observers and consumers today. It's like, this is not bitching about entrepreneurship. No way.
no,
Entrepreneurship is hard. You're taking a machete and you're a trailblazer. You're trying to create a path where there isn't one. However, it's so beautiful because you get to create your own rules. You get to connect with great people. But sometimes your eyes stay open at nighttime because you're faithfully trying to figure out, hey, how am I going to fit payroll? How am I going to pay for that service? How are we going to hit that particular deadline? And only people that are the people in the arena really understand that. It's not complaining. It's just this little echo of subtle challenge that when you're in a regular 9 to 5 W-2 job, you're working for somebody else, you have your own level of stresses. Like, I wouldn't say entrepreneurship is harder than the other one. It's just different. You take on
totally.
responsibility. Like a 9 to 5, like, has its benefits. It has security. It has, healthcare. It has social security. It has connection and collaboration with other members of a team. They're built out for you. All those things are great. However, there's expectations, there's deadlines, there's following somebody else's rule, there's
Totally.
not getting a pay raise when you think you deserve it, there's sometimes working more than you thought you were going to. There's reviews that go bad, there's management of people that's challenging, there's HR violations and tension and conflict. Like, they're simply different. One is not easier than the
Yeah.
other. They're just different flavors for sure.
I think sometimes even entrepreneurs ourselves, we tend to look, there's this idea that like you've got your shit all together. And I think it's so important to like humanize like what real entrepreneurship is like. Um, uh, because it is, it's, you don't get the security that you do with a 9 to 5, but you're following your passion and you have a lot of glass ceilings. Whereas, a traditional 9 to 5, it will stop at some point. You might have a
Yeah.
few glass ceilings there, but it does stop at some point, and that's fine. Again,
Yes.
there's literally nothing wrong with that. My fiance loves his 9 to 5. He's passionate about what he does. He loves the security with it. His mental health is so like on point all the time. Um,
No, but I love what you're saying. Like, there is a glass ceiling, but maybe some people are comfortable with that, right? And that's okay.
totally,
You
yeah.
know what's interesting though about entrepreneurship? There's not a glass floor. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
could keep going down.
Oh, totally. Yeah, that's a great perspective.
And I think that's the difference. There's a risk tolerance that comes with this of like, hey, I'm following my dream. Hey, I get to make my own schedule. We get to hire who we want to hire, work who we want to work with. But you don't know what you don't know. People inevitably, unfortunately, will disappoint you. So when life happens, finances happen, tariff challenges, financial issues, stock market, things that like are really far out of our control, things may happen. And people start to reel in that budget a little bit. It can spiral down. Yes, it can spiral up. And like you can spiral up to the forever in entrepreneurship. It's not really that glass ceiling, but you can also spiral down. And I think that that's the subtle difference is like you have that cognition of like, hey, I'm trying my best to be the anchor and create a solid foundation to build upon. But going back to what you had mentioned, Chris Williamson had this awesome little post today that I want to share with you. And it's adults don't exist. And he said, Friedrich Nietzsche, he gets all these accolades, and he was such a transformative human in his time. But he lost his virginity in a brothel and caught syphilis. Nobody talks about that. He only saw his work sell 300 copies during his lifetime. But all of a sudden became this legend later on because his work took off after his death. You look at Martin Luther King. He had all these extramarital affairs with over 40 different women, including spending his last night with 2 women and physically attacking another. Isaac Newton, he's somebody that's, held up on a pedestal in this life. He spent 30 years of his life writing 1 million words on the pseudoscience of alchemy. But it was hidden because he was too embarrassed to publish it. And then you look at all these adults that we put on pedestals. They did this thing or this construct of must be nice. But it goes back to what I've experienced in this podcast space. Like, be careful getting to know your heroes because they go through their own form of struggle. And that's not to knock all of these legends because they simply were trying to figure it out. They went through the peaks and valleys of the human experience. They had their own vices. They were trying to be disruptive. They were trying to think different. But the process of creativity, the process of innovation is not easy. And what he wrote in his newsletter is like, don't put any adult on a pedestal. Kill your gurus. And the adults, quote unquote, aren't going to save you because adults don't even exist. And I'm not saying I agree with every word, but I am saying like it is really an interesting dichotomy to sit there and think like there are moments in this journey towards peak expression, which that's a loosely defined phrase. We're just like, man, if I could only sign this client, or I could sell this thing, or I could connect with this person, or if I just got this many likes or views or the thing or whatever the peak is. Oh, we'll be happy when. But we won't because it's about who you're becoming in the process. To me, the success is when I get DMs from people and they're like, hey, that was such a special conversation. Like I really enjoyed that because for that moment, everything else in the world floated away. Or, hey, I was suicidal or I was going through this thing and I heard that episode with that one specialist, changed my whole framework of my perspective on the world. And it allowed me to realize that like, I'm just in a season and this too shall pass. Little things like that to me are like the micro wins that then get compartmentalized and added and just like, you're like, whoa, we're doing something. And we may not see it, but it is just like a great reminder that like, the big timers of our world, the Jeff Bezos, the Elon Musk, they go through their own struggles too that aren't always highlighted by the media or by the world.
Yeah. This, this is everybody's first time living, going through this journey. So, we tend to look at adults or like parents as if, they're these like all-knowing, all-being people. But they make mistakes just the same way. They have no idea. Nobody knows exactly what they're doing. And so, yeah, adults don't exist. Adult is just a social contract of like what a human over the age of 18 is. It's, really, I mean, I've met adults that, are in their 50s and 60s and act like they're in their 20s. And then I've met, 15-year-olds that have more wisdom than any or 60-year-old I've ever met. They don't exist. We're all just kind of in this weird, funky little place going through the motions all at the same time. And it's all our first time. So we're learning.
For sure. Out of curiosity, why did you choose body printing? Like, how do you describe that for people that maybe don't know what that is? And how do you
Yeah. So
discover that that's like your medium of choice?
Yeah, so really, I'm a realist artist by training. I went to school at the University of Mississippi and I got my BFA there with an emphasis in painting. And I did my thesis on body positivity. And I did these beautiful, giant, almost life-size paintings of women, but all very realistic. And that's just how my brain has always worked, like hyper realism. But I was wanting to get into abstract art. My brain does not work like that. Some artists can just like see something in their head and it's all whimsical and, collage, and then they put it on canvas and it's stunning and they know how to harmonize and unify it. And I can't do that really unless I have something right in front of me that I'm painting from. So after graduation and after traveling, when I came back to the US, I was really trying to push for abstract art. And, I was doing lots of like abstract figure drawings, but everything that I was doing looked like somebody else's artwork, or it was like too influenced by, or too similar. And it just didn't feel like mine and it didn't feel unique. And, so there's this painter, or this artist from the 50s, I believe, and I'm going to butcher his name, but his name's Yves Klein, and he's a French artist, I believe, but he did these body prints of women. So he would paint their bodies this kind of like Patone blue color, and he would lay them on canvas or paper, and he would drag them around and make these very abstract, like wild paintings. And I thought that was just so neat. So I thought, okay, well, I'll try that, and then I'll see if I can make it look more like unified and believable, I guess. Whereas like his were just very kind of like messy and like incredibly abstract. So I just painted myself, and I was in my bedroom in Brooklyn. I was living with a roommate at the time, and I did it, and I got up from the painting and I thought like, well, that's really neat. Like, I really like that. Like, how can I modify it here or there and, make it more mine? And so I started experimenting with different pose options, and I would go out in just out into the park or the world, or we'd be anywhere, and I would just kind of pay attention to how people were sitting or standing, and thought, I wonder if I can recreate that in a print. And from there, I realized it was very difficult to do on my own to get the poses accurate. So I thought, okay, I'll get on Instagram and I'll reach out and I'll see if anybody would want to like come to my apartment and do this right next to my bed. And so I had all of these New Yorkers and it was normally like a friend of a friend of a friend who had a roommate who had a cousin that lived in New York, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And they would come in, and I'd be like, okay, well, all I can pay is $10 an hour. And they were like, that's fine. And some people were like, you don't have to pay me. Like, I think this sounds like a fun experience, but I did not know these people really at all. So we started, playing around with different poses. Okay, well, let's do this pose where it looks like you're sitting in a chair. Let's do this pose where it looks like you're more reclined and like your back showing, and it's, from there it started to grow, and more people wanted to come in, and the intention was to never like have appointments. The intention was to make art in a really cool like way and process, and then sell it. And but everybody that was coming in was like, I want to buy this from you. And I was like, yeah, but I'm supposed to like put it on the internet and then people buy it. Like, like, wait, can you not, like, everybody started wanting to buy their own prints. And so from there I thought, okay, well, I just had all these people that were just like volunteering to come in. Like this, I just got out of an abusive relationship. I think this would be wonderful for me. I suffer with body dysmorphia. And so these women started coming in, taking off their clothes, and I would paint their bodies and show them how to lay on paper and canvas. And then we'd make these, beautiful paintings together. And that's kind of how it all got started. And that's essentially what it is. You take your clothes off, I paint your body, I show you how to lay down, you lay down, then you get up from the paper, and then I kind of like tweak it and like bring some, add a few things here and there, and then you've got your painting. So that's
so
how it all
beautiful. It
happened.
reminds me of the Titanic. Paint me like
I
one of
know.
your girls.
I know. Paint me like one of your French girls.
So cool.
Yeah,
But
so that's
what I
how it
also
happened.
am hearing from you that I greatly appreciate is it's a meditative experience in the sense of so many of us get so busy that we forget to observe. And I loved that you went out into the world and you observed how people were interacting in their lives with their
Mm-hmm.
nature, with the bench, maybe in their poses, the way they're looking up into the sky, how their bodies morphed into their environment and how they moved, whether they were on a phone call or talking to a loved one or walking their dog, noticing the nuance of life. You don't have to do, you can just be, you can notice. And then in noticing, you're transforming that into this beautiful, eloquent art piece that, you had mentioned exiting an abusive relationship, having body dysmorphia, and now you're giving away what you also kind of needed at some point, which
Mm-hmm.
is so beautiful. And it's challenging because it's like you're almost like, man, I wish I had me when I went through that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that is the song, right? It's like turning up that volume of like, hey, I wish I had this, but because I didn't, I'm going to give it away to you because it's so transformatively epic.
Yeah, so it's wonderful to be able to, give those moments, and it's been cool to see um, how it's grown and evolved. And I think the most unique thing about it is that every woman takes away something a little, gets something different from it, out of it. Someone who struggles with, body dysmorphia is going to come in and feel something different than a woman who's coming in and just wants a painting, versus another woman who's just coming in because she wants a New York experience, versus another woman who's coming in because she was sexually abused. So everybody has their own, experience with it, which is nice, but it's just one process that's all the same. Um, but it
That's
touches a
super
lot of
cool.
hearts. Yeah.
What's the difference for you, Camille, of art as decoration and art as transformation?
Uh, art is decoration. How do I put this plainly? Um, art that makes you feel something. My sister, this is a great example. My sister reached out to me a couple months back and she sent me a picture of this painting, and she was like, "What do you think of this?" And it was a painting of this, like this dock on this river. And I thought it's not like it was ugly. I just was like, it's fine. Like, it's not something I'd put in my house, but like, if you like it. She was like, well, if you don't like it, then maybe I won't get it. And I go, well, what do you like about it? And she goes, well, it reminds me uh, of when Patrick and I, her and her husband, when she goes, reminds me of when Patrick and I were dating. We used to go on the boat all the time and we would pass docks like this, and they look just the same. And I said, well, then you should buy it. I was like, because it makes you feel something. Like, you know, don't just go to Hobby Lobby or Home Goods and like buy the piece that is a temporary, problem solver you're just going to keep on your wall to take up space for a minute. You're going to fall out of love with it. It's going to get put in a landfill. There's nothing that's drawn you to it other than, maybe some Pinterest post that told you it would be a good idea to do it. Art that you're feeling drawn to, it brings up a memory or it feels familiar. And yeah, you feel it in your heart. And so she ended up buying the painting, as she should have, because it,
Hmm.
it made her feel something. Um, yeah, I could say
I
that's
think
what it
that's such
does.
a perfect depiction. Like when things allow you to unlock a feeling or a memory, there's something really special to that. And I mean, I feel that way about tattoos. My mom passed back in July, and I've got a couple of hummingbirds on me because hummingbirds make me remember time in the backyard with my mom, the depth of conversation, her filling the hummingbird feeders, the jokes that we shared where I'd be like, Mom, you're giving too much sugar to the hummingbirds. You're going to give them diabetes. And then we looked it up and later realized that their wings flap too many times per second. They can't actually get diabetes. But it was just a humorous moment that just like, now I can share that story and it makes me feel connected to her. And hummingbirds aren't going to be for everybody, but they mean something to me. And I love that you noticed that and you were curious because maybe the painting didn't light a little candle in your heart, but it lit something for her. And I love that you paved the way for her to see that. And then it created this authentic experience as to why she wanted to integrate that piece of art into her life. That's so special. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
My final question for you, are you ready?
Yeah.
If your work could whisper one message to every person who sees it, what would it say?
Probably say something along the lines of, you truly never know how powerful you are. And we don't give ourselves enough credit as humans. But all these women, they are a testament to it. It may just be a painting, but they come in and they've overcome something that's difficult and challenging for a lot of them. And I think that that's what this process and the art represents. It's powerful, and you embracing that. So you're always more powerful than you realize that you are.
I love that. Ladies and gentlemen, Camille Hunt.
Thank you.
That was so special. I love chopping it up with you.
Yeah, it was so
Where,
nice to talk with you.
that was cool. Where can people find your work?
You can go to my Instagram, which is camillehunt.art, or you can go to my website, which is camillehuntart.com.
Very cool.
Yep, check it
And
out,
what are
guys.
you looking forward to in May? May's coming up. You're going to take a month away from the rat race a little bit, and you're going to do some
Yes,
personal exploration in the land of sculpture.
yes.
What are you looking forward to most?
I'm really looking forward to experimenting and just getting messy. Experimenting can be a little expensive. It can be very unpredictable. I want to just be thrown in that area really deep, and I want to feel the same things I felt when I first started this, when I was figuring out my poses and how exciting it was to see something work by moving, as something simple as moving my arm in a different direction or painting here on the arm instead of there, and just playing. Really, it's something that I really crave, and there's such a science to it as well. Like, well, does this solvent work better than that solvent? Well, I guess we got to buy them all and test them all out, and it's like an experiment. So really looking forward to that. Really looking forward to just more walks and enjoying the weather in New York, and maybe a little bit of wedding planning.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a little break from the chaos, and to kind of just come back to earth a little bit. So looking forward to it.
Camille, it was such a pleasure connecting with you. Life is such an experiment, and I love that you're going back to your childhood roots to play because play truly is the highest form of learning, and I think it's going to transform your art, your experiences, your connections more than any of us really know right now. I think we'll find out, and I look forward to seeing you on the other side of May.
Thank you so much, Bryce. It was great talking to you. I really loved it.
Yeah, this was really fun. Guys, if you enjoyed my conversation with Camille Hunt, please rate, review, subscribe, and as always, share with your friends. And guys, stay on the hunt for who you've not yet become. Until next time, bye-bye.